to Christmas in July. I'm doing very easy painted blocks that spell out harvest on one side with a stack of pumpkins at the end, and then when autumn is over you can flip them over and they spell believe with a Christmas tree at the end that you can use for your Christmas decor. So let's get started. I'm using Anita's all-purpose acrylic craft paint in fall colors, and then also a cream color for the lettering and a cranberry or wine color for the Christmas side. I bought these stencils to use for the letters. If you're good at freehand lettering, you could use a Sharpie pen or a paint pen. These letters are 2 inches tall. I also have a cup of water, a paper plate, and a paintbrush, and I put some paper toweling on a salad plate so that I could blot my paintbrush with water and it would protect my table from getting wet. I've put the blocks on some newspaper. There are 7 blocks cut from 2x4s, 2.5 inches wide, and I wiped them off really well to make sure the sawdust was off of them. The first color I'm using is the wine color, and the number on that is 11039. Shake it really well to mix it up, and then put just a little bit on a paper plate. I like to get my brush wet first and then just blot it on the paper towel. On this project, you just need to do just the front. You don't do the sides, but you do need to be a little careful about your brush strokes. But when you look at mine, you'll see that it's not perfect, and that's okay because it's a rustic looking project. This used to be an inexpensive little craft to do, but I'm filming this in 2021 and lumber has gotten so expensive in the United States. If you have some scraps of 2x4s left over from another project and somebody that can cut them for you, that would be ideal. I let these dry for a couple of hours and then I did go over them with another coat of paint. For the color that I'm using for the lettering, it's cream number 11323. I didn't know it when I got it, but the stencils I bought have a sticky substance on them, so they go onto the blocks and seal really well, so it's not going to bleed. The paint isn't going to bleed underneath. I'm using a flat-headed brush to do this. I think it's called a stipple brush. And so I just dip it very sparingly into the cream paint and then blot it before I even put it onto the blocks. I blot it onto the newspaper and then just go up and down, filling in the stencils on the blocks. If you didn't want to buy a special brush for this, just use a foam brush. I tried not to leave the stencils on the blocks for very long because they left a little bit of a residue, and I don't think that's going to make any difference. But it might if they were on there a long time. So when the paint is all filled in, then you just peel the stencil off of the block and you have this perfect little letter. And voila! These stencils worked really well on these blocks. I really liked them. When I was done using the stencils, I put them back on their paper and took a wet paper towel and wiped the paint off of them. Now I'm going to paint the other side of the blocks, and so I spell out believe, and so that they're in order, and then flip them over. It doesn't matter, you wouldn't have to do that if you didn't want to. I start by putting a little bit of the pumpkin color, number 11140, on the paper plate, and for me that was a little bright, and so I wanted to darken it up a little bit, and so I put a little bit of the red rust, number 11025, on the plate and mix the two together. If I had to do it over again, I would probably just buy the wine-colored paint. The wine and the red rust were so close in color that you could hardly tell the difference. I started painting the block that would have the letter H on it with the orange paint. Then I painted the blocks that would have the letters R and T on them in the rust color. I painted earth brown, number 11014, on the block that will have the S on it, and mustard, number 308064, on the block that will have the A printed on it. Then I went back and did the E in the orange color. The block that will have the V printed on it is painted in hunter green, number 11040. After the blocks had dried, I went ahead and stuck the stencils back on it and painted them like I did for the believe part of the blocks. This would be a good project to involve your kids in. It would be something that they could do during the summer while they're off from school, and would be something that would be fairly easy, that would keep them busy for maybe a couple hours anyway. They could also do a variation of this and stencil their name, the letters of their name, onto blocks to put on a bookshelf in their room. That would be cute. Just use a color that matched their room. Or another variation, if you wanted to add one more block and paint the blocks, the harvest side, paint them orange and black and stencil the letters Halloween on it. I'm painting the tree and the pumpkin stack afterwards because they weren't cut out when I did the blocks. So I'm going to show you how to do those. I'm painting the pumpkin stack, the pumpkin color, and then I am going to float a darker color over top of that to give it dimension. While that's drying, I'm going to start on the tree. I'm using hunter green, but you can use a lighter green if you'd rather. Sometimes the hunter green almost looks black after it dries. I'm going to also paint the stem on the pumpkin stack with the hunter green. I'm going to show you how to float the rust color over the top of the pumpkin stack. If you'd prefer to outline the pumpkins with a Sharpie marker, you can certainly do that as well, or instead of. I'm using a smaller flat brush, and I got it wet and then just blotted it once on the paper towel. And then I dipped just a corner of that into the rust paint. So right now I am just outlining the pumpkins on the edge of the wood. And this side didn't go the way I wanted it to. And so when that happens, you just need to take a wet paper towel and you can wipe it off and start over. We're just looking for the smallest amount of shading and color here. After I do the outline, I make some ridges for the pumpkins. For the pumpkin and the tree, I just hand sketched or just hand drew a pattern for my husband to follow, and he cut it out of wood for me. You could do this craft without the pumpkins and without the tree if you didn't have the resources of somebody to help you cut wood. And then I also draw a line on the bottom of two of the pumpkins to separate them into 3 different pumpkins. And there you have a 2-for-1 decoration. You can put it out in September or October and leave it out until January. Just flip it around after Thanksgiving. If you're in the US, or the end of November. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.